Hope you can hear me just fine because the microphones are working great, but it is a bit smoky out here. I guess we had the second worst air quality in the world 2 days ago. It's pretty crazy. I love Canada, but they got a fire situation going on. But that's neither here nor there. Well, it is actually right here, right now, but it's also over there. But this is here right now, and let me show it off to you guys. I don't know how many of you guys joined us for the show this last Tuesday. It was an incredible show. It was show 218, I believe, yep. And we had, right now it's the GAS conference, the Glass Art Society conference. So this is a situation where you've got people from all over the world coming for this. Every 4 years, I believe it happens, they have a big conference, and they've been in Italy, in Mexico, they've been in Seattle, which is a huge hub for glass, and now they're in Detroit, because Detroit's almost kind of becoming its own little hub for glass in America. So, international event here, a lot of glass blowers from out of town. We put an open invitation to glass blowers, whether we knew them or not, to come to the studio and join us for the Goblet Show, which was last Tuesday. And we had 2 benches rolling. We had some super talented artists. We had a lot of treachery. We also got some really nice pieces done. So I'm going to show them off. A couple of these are not from the show, and I'll explain why we're showing those off in a second. I've got little cards that I made with as much information as I had of each person, and if anything, it's just the basic, their name and their Instagram if you wanted to follow them. We're going to be selling these pieces next Tuesday, and we're going to price them correct, and we're going to give 50% of the sales back to the GAS conference. Because they're looking for money, they're looking for funding to keep what they do alive and support glass art in America and in the world. So that's what we love, that's what you guys love, so that's what it's going to be about. We're going to cover our costs, we're going to get them a nice little check too. So in no order of how it went down during the show, because it was pretty hectic. We had probably 25, 30 people over here working the keg back here a little bit and hanging out at the tables, and then we were bouncing around over here. Apologies for the mic overlapping, but we were running 2 cameras. We had them kind of tucked into the screen together so you could see all kinds of action going on. It was a lot. But so we'll start right over here with Nadine. Take a look at this. She spun the wheel. If we take a little zoom right here, our wheel has been presented or was made for this show to have all these different themes. Winter, red wine, 4 inches or smaller. That's what Nadine got. Low bowl special, fall autumn theme. That's what Ian got over there. Crackle technique, 12 inches or longer. Ryan Thompson got that one. We'll talk about that in a minute. Champagne, nobody, traditional Venetian. I think Chris might have got that one to start. Animal stem, martini glass, vegetable stem. Now we've had an issue where we got longest drop like 10 shows in a row. And last night on Tuesday, we did get the 4 inch or smaller twice out of like 7 spins. So let me just give it one more tester spin. And if it lands on 4 inches or smaller, then we know it's a weighted wheel and there is treachery afoot. No treachery to be spoken of. So that's all good, but Nadine made a really nice piece. And now this was at the smaller bench in the back. We had some good shots of it. I wasn't able to watch the entire process, but I know there was some treachery there where something dropped, she pieced it back together. She made a beautiful flared little foot on here, recycle and clear. And look at that little sipper. That's almost like a royal. Does that look good in the sun or is it too bright? It's almost like a royal shot glass. Like you could just sip something incredible out of this and feel like you belong in Game of Thrones. It's kind of like a knot. She tied a knot with optics and recycled glass into a beautiful little knot and then put the Evolio and put a little cupper on there. Really cool piece, completely satisfied the requirements. Let me get the ruler right over here. And I think she might be exactly at 4 inches. So that's pretty impressive. We talk about calipers and you talk about measurements and hand making different things. It's a pretty difficult thing to make something exactly like you planned it. So big props to her. And that was pretty incredible to see her do it. Then we had Ian over here, and Ian and Jax, his partner in crime, that they were working together on this piece. They're both from Hawaii, came down for the gas conference, saw our invitation, and came down to check it out. Now his prompt was the fall and autumn theme, and he was going to go for pretty much what was drawn right there, put a leaf on it. He went with an iris gold leaf, and it fell off on the punty. He also remade it, and it fell off the punty again. And just from watching, I didn't want to coach these guys too much and kind of like act like I knew what I was doing too much, but the punty situation was too tender, and I think it has to do with, oh, it's like it wanted to crack, but it didn't crack. Working with different melts of glass, we just experienced like 5 or 6 different brands of glass that we could be using at the gas conference when me and the crew went down there yesterday. And we're melting a specific one, Oceanside System 96, and it's a little bit stiffer for goblets. It's a little more challenging. It's perfect for what we do. But some glass blowers who need extra heat to make a bunch of handles and whatnot, or even just the amount of pressure you put onto a punny, it makes a big difference. So when I saw him put that punny on, he was really tender. Just barely tapped it on there, and when he tapped it off twice, it just popped off. And the third time they were at their own bench and I was blowing a piece, so I didn't have a chance to say something, but they did remake it. They reused the cup top, made a classic beautiful stem here, all clear, and made a beautiful flared blown foot on it. So that turned out pretty darn nice, but it's a total learning curve in working in another shop with different tools, a different hole, and different glass specifically. So shouts out to those guys for pulling that through and doing a great job, and they were super cool people, just great smiles and good energy, and that was really fun hanging out with them. Saw them at the conference the next day as well. This was one actually we made the day after Tuesday, our Gathering Point show. Joey and I made this as a demo for a group of collectors that came by the studio here. And so I just wanted to show this guy off because it turned out incredible, and this almost looks like it belongs in some kind of sporting event, some sort of like running race track, and you get to the end and you're like, yeah, I did it. The one thing I would notice is that we've switched. We ran out of our iris blue, our iridescent blue chrome from one distributor, bought it from a different distributor, and it's much lighter of a color. So we've got to adjust the amount of coats we put on to get it to look similar, if we want it to look similar. But this is a really cool piece. We want to donate back to the conference, so I believe we're going to make this one for sale next week as well. Got to confirm that with the boss, though. This was another collector's. This was Wednesday, I think also, Wednesday or Thursday or someday. They're all blending together, but we had like 45 collectors come by from Habitat Gallery, and they got a nice demonstration of one of the largest bonsais that we've done to date. A little different tech on the stem. I think that's the back side. This is the front side. Everything was coming together great. Beautiful bowl color and texture situation. Nice clean foot on it. Except for on the second to last heat, because there was air trapped in this folded lip on the bowl, this whole lip here shattered in like 50 different places. So it's just no good. It's a heavy piece, room for improvement. I really like it like that. What Michelle pointed out, instead of putting it all together hot and squishing that in there, perhaps either I make a clear base in there that's a little bit taller so this comes up about an inch, because I wanted to fill this with preserved moss. If I fill that up with preserved moss up to that high, then you're losing the entire trunk of the tree. Tree trunk lossage. So that's to be figured out. Either we put it on a wood base and glue it in there, or if we want to do it hot, maybe instead of putting a big glob and squishing a ball in there, we'd raise it up and have like a little tower, a clear tower, torch the top of it, get it really juicy, and then squish that on there. But either way, it's a lot of weight, it's a lot of leverage to have on the pipe at one time, but it did survive. I'm still gonna put the moss in there and probably put it somewhere up in the shop here, but unfortunately, it can't be for sale when it's got that many cracks in it. Coming down the line, and here's the, I wanted to show this. This is Nadine's information. Get a little zoom on that. Super cool. Then we got Ian. Couldn't find Jack's information, but that's Ian's social media handle. Most of these are Instagram folks. Jacob and Joey Walker Glass. J Crew. Here comes Ian Dawson, the other Ian. If you guys were watching the show, he was a little nervous to do it. We got him up and he was super excited. He's a lefty and he is still in the beginning stages of learning how to blow glass. And he also spun and got the 4 inches or shorter. So if we take a gander here, it looks like he somehow nailed exactly 4 inches as well, which is pretty ridiculous. But he was originally starting by making this a goblet stem, and I saw that and I was like, dude, that's about 4 inches already, so I don't know if you're gonna put a cup on that or what the deal is. But I kind of talked him through and taught him how to put these pinch bits on, and he did his first attempt. I brought him over a couple bits, he stuck it, rolled it over and cut it, and that was pretty darn smooth. And then we wanted to put something on the top. I was telling him to put a ball and squish it to the side, pinch it, turn it so that it had a little bowl on top and it was some sort of sipping cup. But in the way that went on, the way it went down, we made ourselves a nice little curl and we got a sweet little topper on it. So big shouts out to Ian for stepping up to the plate and getting crazy with us. There's a lot of glass blowing knowledge in here, so it takes some confidence to hop onto the main bench and do that in front of the camera, and we give him big kudos for that. He did a great job. From Bowling Green, Ohio. Ryan Thompson, folks, is a good buddy of mine. He runs the Henry Ford Museum's glass shop, and he's an incredible goblet maker, but all-around glass artist. Makes some really beautiful work and does a really great job over at the Henry Ford. His piece, he got to 12 inches or longer, and he literally pulled out a bubble that was probably like 16 inches long, and it was just out of control, and he just was wrangling it and doing it, but new glass, new tools, new situation, and he lost it, and it hit the floor. He had to leave a little bit early, so he said before he was gonna go, he made a unicorn, pulled it off on one gather, no reheats, super tight. The tail broke off on the 2 legs when we were pulling it out of the annealer. But that's because he was it's kind of an interesting piece to save. You're walking around with it, showing it off, and then you still get in the box. There's not a huge chance it's gonna make it, but really cool, beautiful, delicate, intricate unicorn situation. Look at those lips. It's like, it's gonna give someone the business here pretty soon. So that's pretty cool, and we appreciate Ryan for coming out. Great to see him. Here's a little treachery from Chris's piece that he made. Didn't make it. It was honestly a ridiculous piece, probably the nicest piece of the night. It was huge. It had handles all over it, a big S, and he went to knock the punty off, and the punty hit the flow. The piece hit the flow. These guys were really amazing as well. This is Brian Fruss and Annie Homola. These guys are both from Maine, and I got their information there. I don't think I could find Annie's information, but Brian was they're both great sports, super positive energy, really loved what we were doing here. They went with clear and recycle, and I believe their prompt was red wine. That's what it was. Anything red wine, so that's a pretty broad one for you there. But he told a little bit of a story without too much detail, that this was a style. This is the first time he's ever made something like this. It was a style that a buddy of his made all the time who's not around anymore. So we wanted to represent his buddy and give a little ode to him and his glass making talent. And so him and Annie worked together and worked with the recycle and the clear and made this really cool organic stem here, holding the glass, perfect for red wine. You don't touch the glass, you're not cooling or warming up the wine, holding it here. and it's super natural, free form, super cool. The recycle was really low, and not everyone's worked with recycle either. It's kind of difficult to take a gather and know what you're getting at. So they had a couple tries at making a nice size foot, which he just pinched out, and then they added on like a jumbo lip wrap to that foot to make it a little wider, and they got the perfect size out of it. This thing's sturdy, it's super cool, it's super unique, and I think that's an awesome collection. It was great talking with those guys, and really appreciate them showing a little bit of cool action here in the shop. And then after the show, we spent 2 hours. We probably spent another hour blowing glass after that, since everyone was here and everything was going on. You know this guy, Chris Nordine. Israel and his wife, Amanda, my aunt, came by the studio, and they're just amazing people. You guys know, I mean, they're both incredible artists. Israel is an amazing metal worker, makes a lot of sculptures and a lot of really cool things here around the city, in Detroit and in Dearborn. He also knows glass and took a lot of glass in college, knows many of the people in this community. So they partnered up and made one heck of a piece. And I didn't see him spin the wheel, but if I had to guess, he had to be in where Ian was, the fall, autumn leaf theme. And that's pretty much exactly what that is. That's one of my favorite greens right there. Iris gold, beautifully, perfectly folded, clear foot, beautiful clear glass up top for whatever you're drinking. This is an incredible one that I know is gonna be snatched up on Tuesday pretty quick, one for the record books. And if we get a chance for any of these guys to come back by the studio this week while they're still here and sign the pieces, we will have them sign it. But I also know there's a lot going on. I talked to a couple of them and they're just completely booked. There's a lot happening, so I didn't want to stress it too much. We have their information, we know who made it, it's documented on the video, and that's the deal. So we appreciate you guys. I hope we'd love to hear some feedback on what you guys thought about this collaboration show. If we'd like to see that more, having other artists, if 2 benches was too much, if we want 1 or 2 artists with us, how the mics worked, what you think about the pieces and the wheel that we're doing for the Goblet Show. Let us know your thoughts. We appreciate you guys. Thanks for tuning in with us on Friday. We weren't able to do it yesterday because we were at the conference. And we're still looking for a video editor for our videos, so we've still got some figuring out to do before things get locked down with our times again. So bear with us, enjoy your daily situation. Don't be breathing in too much smoke out there, and we appreciate you all. Thank you to our VIPs. Talk to you guys on Sunday for the